Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Fight Chat Friday from TKD Coach Academy. We are hitting episode 154, and this week we're talking a little bit about the upcoming World Championships in Tampere, Finland. We're going to have a look at the senior divisions, male and female, as far as sparring is concerned, and look at who maybe we know of or who we think are some of the standout names to look at or keep an eye on in the division. So if you're kind of planning your live streaming, binging over the next week and you want to see where the juiciest action is, maybe this episode is a good one for you to get stuck into and see what divisions are worth looking at and what people in those divisions might bring up some exciting matches.
Yeah, so let's get right stuck into it with the senior male minus 57. Actually a big division this time around, so pretty stacked, lots of numbers and a big diverse crew as well from a lot of different places, which is great to see. So If we just take the top half of the draw right off, we have from Ireland there Dean Carty, who's a current bronze medalist in the Euros. We have Doyle as well from Spain, who's been around there making finals recently and making some good headway. Anyone else that stands out for you, the top half of that?
I have to say the top half of this one for me, unless there's some sincere unknowns, you would be looking to the European side of things here as well. I don't know Lautaro Almeida from Argentina, but the Argentinians are never slouches, in general. But Doyle, he's been getting better and better, and I would say he's one to watch definitely in the top half of that draw.
Yeah, for sure.
Of course, he has a stable mate in the bottom half of the draw as well in Yassine. So something to watch from Spain, I think, in this division. They've been really consistent in terms of reaching semi-finals, finals at Euros. So it's to see, can they translate that to the Worlds?
Yeah, obviously I was going to say that we're a little bit biased on the European side because we just see it more often. So we will know of those European fighters that a little bit more, but the Uzbeks have been quite effective as of late as well, so it'll be interesting to see what they're like. Of course, from the last Worlds, we have Vitaly, the champion, Thomas Fogarty and Jamie Williams from Ireland as well, who are medalists there. They're bumped up to 63. So we don't have any previous medalists as far as I'm aware from this. Of course, Axel Vargas as well, also after retiring. So new shake-up in the minus 57.
Yeah, obviously we have Finn Martin from Ireland, who's the current European champion as well in that lower half, so we'd be looking to him to do some good stuff as well, as we go forward. But it's definitely a shake-up. I think it's in the nature of the lighter divisions anyway, that over time people will tend to drift up from the lightest divisions to the next one. So let's have a look at that division and see who's ended up here and who looks likely to put some pressure on for the top places.
Yeah, so we have Cody, obviously from Netherlands, who's been around the block and competing quite consistently. He got a medal in the last Worlds as well. Of course, we have Daniel Hassanpour from Norway. We've covered him a few times now in the last couple of campaigns that he had. Always seems to get Ziga at some stage, but I think he's dodged him for a little while at least.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And of course, he's the current European silver medalist, so he's going to carry a certain amount of favourite, well, not exactly favourite status, but you know what I mean. He's going to carry a certain status going into this one. He'll be one that people will be watching.
Yeah, also we have Thomas Fogarty down there from Ireland. Obviously, he has a lot of pedigree behind him, having a couple of medals from Euros and Worlds, mainly in the 57 categories. We have a couple of other people there as well who we know of. We have Will Dewey, who's quite tall for that division.
Yeah.
Someone to watch as well. He can be quite tricky.
Pierluigi Tatti is, again, quite experienced and crosses codes a little bit as well. So could be one to watch.
Yeah, and then as we skip into the bottom half of that draw, right down the bottom, we have the World Cup winner there, Sergey from Uzbekistan. So he's definitely one to watch. And then we have a couple of other names that we're quite aware of as well. We have Jamie Williams, of course, who's always meddling thereabouts. Himself and Ziga are going to have a great battle there early on. And whoever is going to have the best of that is probably going to be looking at Julio Carlos up the top. Some people might skim over that as he's not representing USA this time.
That's right.
Representing Colombia.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we started to see some good initial showings from Dominic from Germany as well, coming out of the same Trickery stable. And, again, I don't know if this will be his tournament, but again, he was starting to show some good signs at the European Championship. So we'll see what's coming from him. but a very stacked division to have European champions, world champions, and World Cup champions and medalists. All stacked in there. That's exactly what you'd expect of the World Championships, and what makes it, as exciting as it is. Just something to say as well, particularly if people are less familiar, because the last World Championships was in 2019 in Germany. The seedings are almost irrelevant because we've changed the number of divisions. We've gone from 6 to 7 divisions in male and female. So that's moved quite a few people around. 4 years moves an awful lot of people in and out, and people move up and down weight categories and so on. So this has the potential to throw up some group of death kind of scenarios where a quarter or a half of a draw could be very, very stacked, as there won't be seeding in place to protect the favourites, let's say, from that. So although some people are seeded, they're often seeded on their own, or there's, maybe it's the finalists have managed to carry through, but it's very rare that there's seeding really having an impact here.
Yeah, I think as well you said, Adrian, that from now on we're going to have seeding for first, second and third. But I think it would be really cool as well if we had a little bit of seeding coming from maybe the Pan Ams, or maybe even the European side, obviously, which is quite strong with our European Championships. That would be good as well, to just have a
certainly
little bit of seeding.
Some amount of ranking, however it's carried out, would be interesting to see, just to... if you've been training for years and then you find yourself suddenly looking at, your very first round match is the finalist from the last event, or the World Cup champion against the previous world champion. It's a little unfortunate. But here we go. We move up to the 69 kilo division. So again, a new weight. So 57 and 63 were the existing previous weights. So 69 is the former 70 kilo division for most people. So we're familiar with a lot of the names in this one.
Yeah, one of the big standouts, of course, Timothy Boss. He's been on the scene a long time and doing some really good things. Took a bronze medal, I think, at the last, bronze medal at the recent Euros. So he's on form at the minute. And of course, we have Theo there as well from Norway, who's been a medalist before at European level as well. So I'll be looking to those two guys in the top half. And then on the bottom half of that draw, a little bit more stacked.
Yeah, very much so. And that bottom quarter especially.
The bottom quarter is stacked. We have James Tude and Shimon. That's going to be a cracker first round fight. And it's important for both of those guys to get out of the blocks pretty early and be sharp in their first fight, because both of those guys have the potential of winning the whole division, And then you have Anis Trikwi right after that then again, who is a top level competitor. And that really is going to be the main part of that as well. We have Mateus Bustamante, who's come up from minus 63. He's been around the block a really long time. We have Ingebrigt from Norway, who's in that kind of level as well. And of course, Marcin as well from Poland.
Yeah, I think the bottom half of this one is very, very stacked, and that bottom quarter in particular, throwing an awful lot of the European heavyweights and favourites, we'll say, from the division against each other right off the bat. So Europe is going to be trimmed down to one semi-finalist out of that part of it very, very, very quickly. So, it's going to be quite interesting how that worked out. Okay, so this we move up to the 75. So again, a new section. And really quite interesting to see what 70s have moved up and otherwise. So we can see Maciek Zuk has moved up from, his previous berth at 70. He's up there at the 75s. But we have some interesting people in in this division, including Ahmed Ramadan from Germany, starting off there up at the very, very top end of it. We've already mentioned Maciek, who carries an awful lot of experience with him. Luke Moriarty from Ireland, of course, European champion, but in the slightly heavier division. Just recently, Jukka Holman, I suppose, from Finland as well, has been doing quite well across.
Last while.
Yeah, for the last little bit. So, it becomes...
Igor as well from Norway, who's quite sharp.
Yeah, absolutely, a strong boy, so he won't be the tallest in the division, but he moves well, and he can fairly trade with the big boys as well, so I think that'll be no stress for him. So we can already see quite a few at the top end of this one. There's still another half. Yeah,
and we have the former champion back on the scene again, Magomed. So he's back in one of his first major tournaments really as well. We have Eno here, who's been on the block. We have a couple of others like Lucep as well from Italy, and Dakota. They've been guys on the scene for a long time, as well as Cristobal from Spain. So that particular section there has a lot of experience in it. But then you come down a little bit, and we have from Argentina, Alejo, who is really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's quite aggressive and strong for that 75 weight as well, I think, because he was quite dominant in 78, never mind say 75.
Yeah.
And of course, we have Marcin there as well from Poland, and Nicholas Duchard, who used to be a 63 fighter. He's bumped up 2 divisions. And we have Zach as well from England, who's doing some good things. And then we have Chris and Shane down the bottom. Shane doing really well lately as well. And Chris, who has been on the scene for a while now and doing quite well as a junior. And obviously looking to pull that through into the senior divisions.
Yeah, I mean, this division for me is possibly the most stacked one. I think this is the new minus 70s in some ways. So there was huge talent in that 69 kilo division. This one, though, I think looks like it's going to be a battleground. Like, there's going to be an awful lot of very level matches that are going to go the distance. I would say this is the division where you're going to see the most extra rounds and golden points. And it's going to be a nail biter, I think, the whole way.
Yeah, this is a very good division. I'll be looking out for this one for sure, which brings us then into the next one, which is 81s.
Yeah.
So, of course, we have, as you can see, we have Vegard from Norway there up the top. He will be one to watch. Bartosz Bien, of course, he's been thereabouts. He won the Europeans recently as well. So he's going to be there. We also have from Argentina, Gianfranco. He was really, really good as a junior, won best overall, I think, at the last Worlds as a junior. So
good.
he'll be thereabouts as well, of course. And we have Tobias Lenz, who is coming from that nice stable in Germany, battling with a lot of top guys, which obviously will stand to him. And then we have 2 tall guys there towards the bottom. We have Callum Clark, who is quite tall and rangy with that leg. And we have Maciek as well, who has been doing pretty well lately in that 81 division.
And I think what makes it very, very interesting here is we can see where Alamin would have normally fought at the heavier 85 division, now down to 81. So that kind of changes things up and takes him out of the usual set of opponents he would have had, who mostly have gone to 87. So I think that's very, very interesting to see how he fits there. But, given his track record over the last number of years, he's certainly one of the standouts to go ahead and push the whole way for a final. Tino Kiviranta has been unlucky to be disqualified in a couple of the more recent ones, the World Cup and the previous European Championships, while doing quite well. So we'll see how he goes. And we've seen a little bit out of Adam Hellam recently as well. I don't think he's quite reached the results that we'd expect, or we think he's capable of, but I think he's a very, very solid competitor. And of course, Sean O'Neill from Canada, who certainly he's capable of putting together highlight reels when things are going very, very well, but we'll have to see if he can get through the dogfight of the full division and make it into those medal places.
Absolutely. It's interesting as well to see what the Argentinians will be like. We haven't seen those for a while now, and they're usually quite strong in the 81s. So Pablo there, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on, because Stefano, of course, is somebody who's been there as well and competed in the final at the World Cup against Alamin and has actually beaten Colin Adolphs at the previous Worlds as well. So he'll be somebody to keep an eye on as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he had a very, very good run to the final. He didn't look like he was pressed so unbelievably hard in the World Cup. He was quite dominant, I think, a lot of the way through to the final.
Yeah.
So jumping up again, we have the 87 kilo fighters. So again, this is another division where we have a little bit of a split. Some who were plus 85s, who are now minus 87s, and this is mostly, I think, the 85 division. But they're getting a chance to. That's true. Yeah, that's true, because Colin Adolphs is up from 78. So that's an interesting one. And I'm not sure had Anton Hansen as well fought at 78. But
I think he was in the previous one as well. Yeah, he's quite solid. That'll be a nice first match. Of course, we have Sean Neary, who's bumped up a couple of divisions there as well. He's up the top against Poland in his first fight. That'll be a good fight. The Polish guy looking quite strong lately. He's quite solid. Really fits into that 87 category, let's say. We have Niels Wahlberg as well from Argentina. He's really, really solid. He's been doing some good things previously, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of performances he's going to bring to the table. And then, of course, the bottom half, a little bit more stacked. Arthur Kuzmin, who is current European champion, against Silvio Gamboa in the first fight. That will be an absolute cracker.
That'll be a rocker, yeah.
Yeah, and of course we have Giles Brown there as well, who has been on the scene a really long time, brings serious amount of experience with him, and of course a lot of previous titles as well. So he's going to be thereabouts. And of course down the bottom of this we have Laird from Ireland, who has been hitting finals very recently as of late in the European scene. So he'll be looking to do big things in this division as well.
Yeah, I'm quite interested as well to have two brothers in the division. You've, or I assume brothers, the Digweed brothers, in there as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on and how they place amongst the group. Moving up to the heaviest boys at over 87. Any big standouts for you? It looks like some very familiar names to me.
Yeah, so of course we have Marius Dancu from Romania. He's been doing really well and pushing on for a long time now. But we have Jakub Gazala. That would be, you'd imagine that he would get through that first round there to set up a nice fight for them in the second round. Other than that, we have Alan Adar. He's known from Argentina. Got to the final of the World Cup against Danilo in Koper. And then on the bottom of the side of that, we have Matias Moraz and Fernando Rua, so they'll probably know each other from years gone by, and that will be a good battle in the first round as well.
Yeah, super. So that one not as big a division, and we've been seeing this with the heaviest weights, male and female. The divisions tend to be a little smaller, but a good mix of countries and a good mix of nations in that. So, but it'll be interesting to see if the two big Polish boys, are able to do what they very often do in Europe and push their way through to the finals. But as you've said, there's good opposition here in this division, so hopefully it gets exciting.
Yeah.
So we'll just pass a couple of the patterns divisions here as we go through, and we'll jump into the female side of the house. Here we go. Yes.
This one is stacked, isn't it? So we have Selma Lee right up the top as current champion, and then a little bit down below we have a couple of big names. We have Nicolette from Hungary, who's doing some good things in Waco as of late. Of course, Tyra Brada and Olivia. She is previous champion in this division, Olivia. And of course, Tyra is current European champion.
Absolutely.
So that would be a great first fight. You'd expect them to have a good run at this, whoever gets through. Gemma Swinburne, of course, is in there as well. She's been really effective in this division. And if we go down a little bit lower, we have Isabella from Spain, who is quite tricky and can pose some threats for people as well. And of course, Taylor Smith, you expect her to do some good things. I would imagine there could be a solid Ukrainian representative here as well, because they tend to have a very good light girl in the minus 50 or 56, 55, whatever division that is usually. So you'd expect as well that there's a potential there that she could do some good things.
Yeah, it's definitely plenty of solid competitors in this one. And, as we look through it, again, good to see that spread of competitors and a lot of new nations represented, particularly the likes of, of China. We're seeing Japan back in a bigger way as well. And then starting to see some interesting countries develop as we look through it. So I've seen Senegal, I've seen, some countries we haven't really seen represented at this level before. So that's really, really exciting to see.
Yeah.
So jumping up just 5 kilos, so all of the female weights now divided by 5 kilos, and we get into that 55 kilo division, and there's a few people jumping out right away for me. So certainly we've seen a little bit from Andrew Cavacci, but for Sanchez then in the top half, has been very strong, did very, very well in the World Cup. And then Ira Labry, again, coming out of, at the moment, Master Trickery stable in Germany, and Ira was European champion 55 or 56.
I think so.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And of course, we also have Eleonora in there as well, who I think got to a final in a recent Europeans in the last couple of years. And then the bottom half of this, we have Kara Fitzsimons, who's back in. I don't think she was a junior at the last World, so she'll be in there looking to make a statement as well in the bottom half of this. We have Lizanne, who's been quite effective on the European circuit as of late, along with Megan Brown as well. Two of them are really effective when it comes to the European scene, along with Fatini as well from Germany. So she was really good at the recent Euros, big improvement from her. So it'll be interesting to see what she brings to the table. And then we have a couple of familiar names as well in the bottom half. We have Andrea Muska back as well from Belgium. So it'll be interesting to see where she's at.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think good, interesting division, some new faces and new names in there as well. And I suppose that's natural with the change in the weight classes as well, or the slight changes that people will find a slightly new home to sit into. As we jump into the 60s, there's kind of a bit of a belter on each side of this to kind of get things started. So I think it's going to be very, very interesting. But we've seen Adelina dropping from the kind of the previously, of course, fighting at 62, and then before that at 68, so coming back down the weights. And herself and Sarah Lahan have had some interesting battles in the past, so it would be interesting to see how that goes. And they certainly know each other very, very well, so that'll be a great start to things if that match transpires. We're really looking in a big way as well at Sam Del Rock, who looked absolutely savage at the World Cup. Really looked in good control, and the same with the recent Europeans. Not the Europeans, would have been the one before. So looking very, very strong and comfortable in her division. But that again is only the top half. So
yeah, and then we have Christine Franks, who got to the final, of course, in the recent Euros. She is quite solid, and then other than that, we have Nicola down the bottom. I think she has dropped down also. And Courtney Smith is back as well, so
yes,
she is quite solid. And we have Brenda Conti as well. We haven't seen much of her, so it'll be interesting to see the New Zealand contingent, what kind of level they're at, because we haven't seen of them too much as of late, so it'll be interesting to see where they're at.
I mean, that's been a huge thing for them, of course, as well, because they haven't had, they weren't really at the World Cup. So because again they weren't able to commit to the travel with the situation with COVID and visas and all the rest of it, so it's been a while since they've been on this circuit, so it's really been 2019 for an awful lot of them, and that means that most of the squad haven't actually been at a World Championships or World Cup, so it's going to be a big step for those guys, I think.
All right, so that brings us up to the 65. So right off the bat, we can see Hannah Miller, who's been on the scene from Norway for a long time. Monica from Poland is always there as well. We have Antonia coming through from Ireland, who I think is in our first senior campaign.
Yeah.
And right under that, we have Camilla Knut, who has been really, really solid in this division for a long while, particularly at 62s, just bumping up that little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the minute, so we expect her to be quite good as well. And then on the bottom half, we have Mira looking to do good things, obviously on home soil. She has been putting in some good performances between WACO and ITF recently. And then we also have a couple of people down towards the bottom, Annalena there as well, who won 62s in a previous European Championship maybe 2 years ago. Larissa from Slovenia, and also Sophie from Germany were really, really good juniors, so it'll be good to see what they can do at the senior level and maybe bring a new level to it.
Absolutely. Moving up to the 70s, and it kind of starts with a person who's like a perennial medalist, not always the winner, but certainly always capable of being in the final with Ursula Turden. But a very interesting start there, where we have Susanna Gajawa against Nana in the very first match, and it would be very much a case of the experience sits on the side of Susanna here. But if that match comes through and it's Susanna against Ursula, that could go either way. I think that's really, really interesting. Aldana Bordiez, one of the ones
where we would like to see a bit of seeding, isn't it, Adrian? Because we have
definitely
two big powerhouses there in the first one meeting really early, so you'd like to see them having a little bit of seeding to potentially have a good crack at a solid final.
Yeah, 100%. And Aldana Bordiez then as well, again quite a good competitor, and we haven't got that information for the last little while of like how are the South Americans stacking up against Europeans, except for those that were at the World Cup. So again, we know to expect a lot from here, but we just haven't seen the head-to-head yet to really give us confidence in anything like a prediction here. So we're really just kind of pointing out the ones that we think, hey, this is someone to watch, or these are people to watch. I think that's going to be the way it is. But I do think potentially it's the top half of this draw that's going to be the pool of death as such that'll eventually come through. So for anyone in the bottom half of the draw, it's wide open for you. I think go for it. This could be your time.
Did Bordiez win the World Cup? I think in the final.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where where we've seen that one.
Okay.
So we move on here to the 75s, and this is one where there are a few very familiar names.
Yeah, as well, this is one that I think is it's open for anyone there to take the reins and take control of this division as well. We don't have any real stalwart of this division yet, so it is open for somebody there really to put their stamp down on this division and kind of make it their own.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't really want to single anybody out from this, because I mean we do know the names. We've seen the girls competing against each other. There has been some shuffling up, in terms of the order that people come through. But I would look at this one as, this is one of the ones where the odds are going to be longer for each person, but that's really, really good. It gives everybody a good shot at making those top 4 medals. And then we have the plus 75s. So again, like we saw with the males, much smaller division. We saw this even in terms of the World Cup. I think there was only 3 people in this weight class at the World Cup. So that's quite interesting. Anna Cornell has been good. We have our own Sarah Redden in here. Lorna Ferguson ended up with a medal at the European Championships in really rather unusual circumstances, with the way that the 3 competitors became a first and a third. So there was an interesting story behind that. So I don't know myself, where I see this one going or who's going to stand out, but quite an open one, I think.
I agree. So as we see all these divisions that we just went through now, I think that it's fair to say we are a little biased with the European scene, of course, because we've just seen it more often. So
especially the last 4 years.
Yeah, definitely. It's a long time. So we are excited to see what the other countries can do, the likes of Argentina, even Canada, New Zealand, those type of countries. And of course, there's a lot of new Asian countries in there as well, with some African countries, which we haven't seen for a long time. So it'll be interesting to see what they can bring to the table.
And then, of course,
breakthroughs as well at the World Cup, the likes of Uzbekistan and people like that. And so
you're reading my mind. That was exactly where I was going.
Yeah, so I think although we've mentioned and highlighted some people that we are familiar with, of course, there's other people who are really, really good as well, who we're not really too familiar with yet, but hopefully they can make a big statement, and we'll be talking about them in the future as well.
For sure. So I suppose just to finish to say, if I was to pick any one division, I think it's the male 75 kilo division is the spot to go to, where sit down, make the cup of coffee, pull out the chocolate bars, and watch that one through. I think there'll be a lot of excitement in that division. But as you can tell from this, there's plenty of people to watch. It's going to be a fantastic event. So get ready to enjoy the show.
If you're watching this and you are competing, best of luck. And a couple of people watching, I suppose, who are hoping to be involved in the next couple of Euros or Worlds as well. So definitely tune in, check it out, see what the level is like, and we're going to have a lot of fights to dissect and talk about it in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
Excellent. All right, folks, we'll see you in the next one. Bye now.
All right, see you next one.